see Indian books in our store.
What happened to them with a few other series, like including Thanda, they didn't want that spelled out. Although,
and it was like Yali and Holy Cow.
mhm,
But it seems things didn't work out. It went quite sore here and there.
right,
So what went wrong?
What is
yeah.
your thoughts, and what was the thought behind coming up with the AI book on the redoing the artwork with the AI on your Neelaskhi book?
Exactly comfortable doing the print or supervising it. Like to publish. I would like Yali's book to be available in multiple languages.
Indian comics industry, right, as we call it, is it sustainable?
I mean, somehow I thought that you produced Village also, but I think this is the first movie you're producing.
Hello, dosto. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today we are thrilled to have on our podcast the mastermind behind some of the coolest comics coming out of India, Asvin, the founder of Yali Dreams. Under Asvin's leadership, Yali Dreams has birthed some unforgettable comics like The Caravan, The Village, Rakshak, and Codename Alpha. The Village didn't just stay on the page; it leapt onto the screen as the first Indian graphic novel to become a web series. From his base in sunny California, Ashwin has turned Yali Dream House into a powerhouse of Indian comics. We are here to dive into his creative journey and uncover the magic behind Yali Dreams. Welcome, Ashwin. Welcome to our
Thank you.
podcast.
It's a pleasure,
Welcome, question.
to being here. That's my first interaction with most of you. So I'm looking forward to discover as much as you want to discover me.
Yeah.
Let me-
Same here, Ashwin. So generally, Ashwin, when a guest comes in, so we briefly ask about his childhood and his journey as a comic fan, and then
Yeah.
maybe we can dive deep into your career right now, because you have been into, I think, writing, publishing. You have been a producer also now, I think. So we'll like to know more about that. But we can start with your initial journey, your childhood, how it was, and then how you came into like discovered Yali and all that. So
Sure.
we can start from there. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I had a very unconventional childhood. My initial years of my childhood was in Brazil, and I was born in the U.S. My dad was a scientist, and it's almost like my dad did not take up his dad's profession. My grandfather was a lawyer, so he did not take his profession. I didn't pursue science, so I think we have this in our DNA where we don't pursue our dad's careers. So I was born in the US but raised in India. And between my initial years was in Brazil. Between age 2 and 6, I was in Brazil. Portuguese was the first language that I picked up and spoke fluently. And then my dad took a sabbatical. We moved to Chennai, India. So then forgot Portuguese, picked up, in fact, when I landed in India, I was not fluent in two of the languages. It was one language that was taught in school was English, which I didn't know. We knew a few words, but not good enough to speak. And then, of course, people around me, all my relatives and friends and everybody spoke in Tamil. So I didn't know either of the language. But then, being young, when you're a 6-year-old, it's easy to pick languages, and so which I did. And then, during my formative years in Brazil, I think the seeds to the comics started in Brazil. I was whatever they call it, preschool, kindergarten. I think I had my school between 7 and 12, come back early, and I spent a lot of time watching cartoons. At that time, Hanna-Barbera was, bigger than even Disney at that time, or even on par maybe. So I consumed a lot of Hanna-Barbera. And then, of course, I got used to some of the Marvel and DC heroes at that time, and I imagined myself as Superman. I would just twirl my hair a bit, and then say, "Hey, I'm Clark Kent," and then and then change myself as Superman, and wear around a red cape. So everyone wanted to be a superhero, so did I. And then moved to India. Then my first, I think, they can say, dipping my feet into Indian mythology came through the form of Amma Chitrakatha, like most people like of our generation. So Amma Chitrakatha and Tinkle were almost like became my staple, in terms of comic book and interaction. And then and later came Asterix and Tintin, Marvel and DC, Archie's, you name it. probably everything that you guys would have consumed in India, I probably did at that time. So, and then later, again, I always wanted to do something with comics because I also used to draw a bit. But then, the path was not defined, right?
Okay.
So I did graphic design degree from Austin, Texas, and then I started pursuing graphic design as a career, which later became UI UX, which I still do. Yeah, that's still my bread and butter. And it's actually that feeds me, my pay my bills and the comic books. So 11 years ago when we started Yali, even before that, I wanted to do comics. The first comic book that I did was a Eurocentric comic book called The Dynast. Think of
Mm-hmm.
it like it's like Thundercats, or even like He-Man. It's more like that, like Dungeons and Dragon kind of a genre. And then the transition happened where I did Neelaskhi, which was published, which I created not under Yali. So it was I thought of catering, hey, somewhere right in the middle, right? Neither Indian nor Western, somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I was struggling to find publishers. That's when I thought, wait, why don't I create an entity? Then Yali Dream Creations came in. Yali is a very anamorphic animal creature. It's found in the pillars of the temples in India, like a half lion, half elephant. That's just one of them. I think there are also half swan, half horse. By multiple versions, but I chose the half lion and half elephant, which I thought was powerful and majestic. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started interacting with people, and one of them and I had heard about is Shamik Dasgupta. I found him on the Facebook. We started talking and interacting, and I pitched a couple of ideas to him to see if he can expand on it, and he pitched a couple of ideas, and then finally we settled on Caravan. And
Mm-hmm.
then 2012, I think we started on Caravan, and by mid 2013, made our debut in Bangalore Comic Con. The first graphic novel was born. Yali was born with it,
Yeah, yeah.
and the rest is.
So yes. So, question on that two books which you did before Yali. So, what was your role there? I mean,
I was a creator. Uh,
mm-hmm.
I pretty much made everything. Yes, that I
Okay,
didn't publish it.
Okay.
I was looking for a
okay,
publisher. So
okay.
I was a co-writer. I found freelance artists for both these books. I didn't know a whole lot of Indian artists. I was living
Mm-hmm.
was living in the US. I was not connected to the Indian comic book yet. So comic book industry yet. So I found for the Dynast, I had an Argentinian artist, and for I in fact I did the lettering for the first book. So
Okay.
and then the Nilakshi, I found two guys, one girl who drew it, and then another guy who colored it from Hungary and Austria.
Okay.
So you
Uh,
were always good in like finding people, and then uh, uh, as a creator, I mean, you manage everything in Yali also. I guess you coordinate with different artists and writers, and I think you are now coordinating with Raviraj Bhai also in India to publish your books.
right.
So yeah, so I think that is kind of a talent you have. you know,
I don't know if it's a talent. It's
bringing
need of the
bringing people
hour.
together. Yeah, need of the hour also.
Yeah.
So on Yali, then how difficult it was because you were in US that time, right? When you
Right. Right.
talked to
I
Shamik
was
and
and I still am.
Yeah.
yeah, you're still in. I mean, you might be visiting India. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Yeah.
frequently,
The
but
last
it's.
time I came to India was March this year.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
how difficult it was to like creating a brand from US and India. Uh,
I'll answer this.
yeah.
So we thanks to I think we Yali discovered how to get things remotely before even COVID happened.
Correct.
So we did that pretty effectively a decade ago, and all our team, right? Like Shamek was shuffling between Mumbai and Calcutta, and we had Bikash Satpathy who contributed to the Caravan. He was in some remote corner in Orissa, and then the colorist, Vishwanath, who colored the entire Caravan, and then he subsequently the same pairing we did for Devi Choudhrani. He lived in Chennai. Thanks to the internet, thanks to Dropbox and Facebook and WhatsApp, we maximize it. We never had a team meeting. Okay, so we never had that. It's just mostly one on one, and then chats we created groups where we would message each other, but never had a team meeting. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Maybe it's a lesson that even tech companies can learn from us. I'm not saying
Yes, yes.
we are not refined. There's a lot that needs to,
Mm-hmm.
Yali still, I think, is a very in company that's still in an infancy. It could, so that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Groomer. Okay.
So
So
Ashwin, I have one
Ashwin,
question. So the question is, so with, as you mentioned, let's say you and Shamik had a connect from Facebook, and let's say Caravan as a first debut book for Yali, it was pretty good from a story and artwork.
Thank you.
But now there comes the rest of the part. How do you guys, let's say you and Shamik, let's say went for a hunt and figure out, okay, who would be the letterer, who would be the colorist? How difficult or easy? Because uh, uh, it's a first company for the comics, and now you need to find the artist, you need to find rest of the other people, and they
Right.
should be good, because it's a first product which is coming out of the, how easy or difficult that was, especially
Uh,
you are from US, Shamik is in Kolkata, and then people need to shuffle around.
See, Shamik uh, was doing comics from I think 2004, 2005.
Hmm,
So by the time Yali debuted, he had already was in the comics to about 8+ years. So
correct.
he had the connects, and through him we navigated and found talent. To be honest, both Bikash and Vishwanath both were identified by Shamik. And in fact, the first 10-20 pages of Caravan, it's an 88-page graphic novel. The lettering was done by me. And then later I thought it was too much work. And Shamek's to be wife, they were not married, to be wife, Tazeen came on board as a letterist. And she completed the rest of the book. So, we kind of, what it's just, hey, in good faith and through word of mouth is how we found talent.
so
Mm-hmm.
Ashwin, so basically finding artists, creating the comics is the first step, right? But the major step, as you yourself struggled, because you started the whole Yali comics because you wanted your books to be published. How
Correct.
difficult was it basically sitting all the way in California to get the right resources and get your books published? Means whenever we talked about Yali in our group, it was like, how come this guy sitting in California is able to publish books back in India and with with quite quite frequently, right? Because all the
Mhm.
books we saw recently, they were coming in proper frequent. So how difficult was it to get it in out in paper?
Yeah, I think the most difficult part was definitely the printing because I was not there physically, and there's no way I could just fly down to India just to print the book. Uh, so that's where initially Shamek did helped on the printing. We did initial printing were also done in Calcutta,
Okay.
and as years progressed, Shamek was not exactly comfortable doing the print or supervising it. It's not his domain of strength. Is he's a amazing writer, right? As so but that everybody has their own strength. So as the years progress, then I had to find right people to look into the print. On the journey, I think I had Vivek Goel to take care of the print. Although the first, I think, from 2013 to 2018 or 19, it was Shamek taking care of the print. And also I think printers also didn't exactly understand how to print comics. It was became almost like expensive
Yeah.
experiment sometimes.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes the binding didn't work or this didn't work. But how do you redo it? It's not like digital art can be redone. But a physical item, very difficult to redo. It's an expensive affair. So we did get our share of complaints from the customers, but we couldn't do much. It was kind of helpless at the same time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and Vivek Goel came on board as a printer, I think 2020 to 2022. And then I think at the best relationship I am having with somebody who can coordinate and everything has been Ravi Ahuja. Because
Mm-hmm.
Ravi also does the lettering.
Yeah.
He's a multi-talented guy. He can do translation, but he doesn't prefer to do it. So but he can proofread. He does the lettering, and the files are with him. And you message him, and pretty much instantaneously he'll give you a response. Like we have several groups with different writers, different artists, and he is there all the he's there. He's the perfect team man.
Yeah, we
Yes,
agree to that.
Yeah.
we had him in one of the podcasts, and
I
that
know.
went for like 2 hours of
Oh,
the
wow.
live video, and then 1 hour we talked offline also. So he's a very genuine guy, very emotional person, and very good person to work. I think you already gave the feedback.
Right.
So coming back to your Karma book, I bought it I think in Comic Con only from Shamik Das
Oh,
Gupta.
okay.
Yeah, so that time I think it was 2014 or 15. Went to Mumbai Comic Con, and I think RC was not there. And you might be aware of that name. I'm not sure if you have read
Yeah, I
them
know.
earlier. Raj
Right.
Comics.
Correct.
I'm
Correct.
not sure in your childhood you read that, but we all, this podcast actually we started from Raj Comics because we are those, 90s Hindi comics fans, and
Right.
then explored like your books or Holy Cow, or you can say Bullseye. These are the new publishers which are doing good, and it feels good reading other
Right.
comics also from other houses. So yeah, I bought it from Mumbai Comic Con because RC Raj Comics was not there, and my budget was allocated to other
Okay.
publications book.
Okay.
So for you, I want to understand how you then in this market where Raj Comics was the only publisher who's flourishing, and that like their sales were also declining. So when
Hmm.
you choose to publish comics, what was going in your mind? How many copies you will sell, or what kind of competition is there in the market? All those things. Did you think about it, or you were like just I need to publish it?
Uh, Both are true. What you said. So, I mean, it's not like I did not care about how many copies we sold.
Mhm,
At the
mhm.
same time, I also know that the path that we are chosen to take is not a road that had already been taken. So we have to make the road or pave the road as we walk. So that is something we were all cognizant of. Shamik was cognizant of it. I was cognizant of it. And Shamik and I also decided that whatever we do, the comic book that we're telling, there should be something cinematic about it. You know,
Mhm,
that is something we decided. And Shamik, so that in principle we were, we were, we stuck to that. And the names like I had read like Tinkles, Amachitrakathas, Champak, and a few other publishers, Indrajal, anything
mhm.
that, especially comics. I mean, my consumption of comics were in English language, and and then I lived in a city. I mean, I was as urban as most of us are. I came to know Raj Comics only after I became publisher, because if they had published in English and had it
Yeah.
come down, the other half of India, maybe I would have seen it.
I
You
think they
know,
had
Yes. Yes.
very few issues that came out in English, but they didn't go as far south as
Yes.
I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So,
Mhm,
so to answer your question, so I didn't know what they did and how much they sold. I had no idea. So, but
mhm.
I wanted to tell my story, and
Yes.
I think the thing is, if I look back inward, I think in me, somewhere in me, I think I like listening to stories and I like to tell stories.
Mhm,
Yeah, my mom had told me bedtime stories. My grandfather had told me bedtime stories, and my dad initially had read Tinkle and Namachitraka for Katha for me. So I think those were you can say the seeds were sown there.
mhm.
So, Ashwin, coming to your first set of comics, right? The Caravan and Village. I'll start with those two. So, both were conceptualized by you, right? If I'm correct.
We brainstormed with the Shamik.
Yes, right. So, I
Caravan definitely 100% was Shamik's idea.
okay.
You know, I would have given suggestions here and there, but the
Hmm.
idea was completely nearly his. Village, Village, we definitely brainstormed a bit more because I told him, hey, what would work, what would not work, because he is a Bengali who lives either between he spent most of his time in Calcutta, and of
Hmm.
course he spends some time in Mumbai. So I had to tell him what actually works in a story which is set in rural Tamil Nadu. Not that I am an expert in rural part of any part of the world, but at least I have some knowledge of what happens in rural Tamil Nadu than somebody who's in Calcutta.
Yeah, okay. So my question was basically Caravan and Village means when means to be frank, I read Yali only after during the COVID period when I
Okay.
came back to the comics world, and when I
Okay.
first laid my hand on both of your books, I said, "Oh my God!" So Indian comics has such horror books which I've basically found in the Western comics.
Right.
So those were your initial books, right? So in a genre of where mostly superheroes are prominent or mythological stories were prominent, right? What made you start with such horror? Because Caravan, even for some of the guys, still I talk back in India, it's like it's too much of a horror for them. So
Right.
what made you think that, what made you believe that this story would actually sell and people would love both of them?
Sometimes it's just gut feeling, right?
Hmm.
We didn't do Caravan and Village, back to back. Caravan happened, and then Devi Choudhrani happened.
Right.
We
Yeah.
did a horror, then a classic adaptation.
Hmm.
Then actually Rakshak book one came out, and which is a vigilante.
Yeah.
And then while we were working on this is the first time Yali chose to do two books at the same time. We were conservative before that, doing only one at a time. When doing Rakshak book two, book three, we started doing Karen at the same time. So that's the first time we did two at the same time. And so subsequently, I think when book four of Rakshak and Caravan came out pretty much around the same time.
Yeah, so I mean, since Anshul Bhai already started discussing on the comics, so my one question I always ponder upon is why Yali don't have a connected superhero universe, because all your books are standalone books, they work standalone. But
Right.
when we talk about a comic book universe, like I think all the publishers are trying to build that, the so-called NCU like universe, so that tomorrow if they go with the IP, then they have a universe and a story to tell. So what was the thought behind these standalone stories, or
Sure.
is there any plan in future to have a connected
Yeah.
universe?
So in the same phrase, all your superheroes basically, it will be Rakshak, Alpha, Caravan, all are in the same time period, right?
More or
More or
less.
less. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Correct. Yeah. I'll answer both your questions.
Yeah.
Well, to be a Marvel is aspirational, right?
Yeah.
If Yali can do 1% of Marvel can do, I think I'll be extremely content, extremely
Mhm.
happy. When we did, I think you asked me whether, why did we do horror, right? It's because we
Mhm.
thought not enough people are doing horror content, right? Why feed more of what is already there, rather fill the gap? So that's one of the reasons why. And then if you look at, even though Caravan and Village are both horror, they are different kind of horror content. So like, and to answer your question, why not do connected universe? Maybe it could be our phase two, I don't know. I wanted to come organically. So until Rakshak, until Codename Alpha came in, we didn't have another superhero. So, and maybe in the future we'll connect the heroes. And I don't know if you read Codename Alpha book two.
Mm.
So
Haven't read, yeah,
Mm.
yet to read
I
that.
don't want to
We have
spoil. There
we have
is
yet we have yet to get them here. So
okay, okay,
getting books shipped from India is another headache for us. So it takes a little time for us.
okay. I can do one thing. My wife is currently in India. She's in Delhi, India. So
Okay.
if you can tell me what books of Yali that you don't have, are you interested in? I can have Ravi coordinate with my wife, and then she can bring them to California. At least the shipping will be cheaper than shipping it all the way from India. If you
Yes.
guys
Sure.
want it, yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. I think
Sure. We'll let you know.
at least US people can get it. Canada
Yes.
folks, it's too costly shipping from here to Canada.
Okay, okay. We
Yeah,
can tell
sure,
you.
Ashwin. Very,
Yeah,
very nice of generous of you.
sure.
So
Uh,
I forgot. I had one question on
Yeah,
the, I
and
think,
I
connected.
still that interconnected universe. Other
Hmm.
reason, well, we wanted to come out organically, and two
Hmm.
is see, well, Marvel has the advantage, and Marvel also was completely broke, so
Yeah.
broke that they had to sell Spider-Man,
Correct.
right?
And
And
slowly.
Yali, in terms of size comparison to even Marvel when they were broke, we are we are not even there. We are like 1% of what Marvel is, or less than 1%. So if we were to, let's say, our aspiration is also to set up. We don't want to settle for just one village. We want to
Hmm.
make more of them for adaptation. So this is the making them interconnected would also mean that we'll have to make the deal with the same studios or actors or producers.
Hmm.
So which I don't know
Yeah.
how it will work out. I don't know if Indian cinema has that kind of vision yet. Indian
Hmm.
studios have that vision yet. We are still, in that periphery of more aspiration.
But
agree
I
to
would
that.
let's say, but at least on paper, I would love to see Alpha and Rakshak on in the
Yeah, yeah,
same
yeah.
book.
That
Yeah.
could happen. That at least that could happen. And I don't know if you guys know, we introduced a third superhero
Oh,
called
okay.
Varian.
Which one?
Varian.
Varian.
Yeah.
Variant.
Varian,
Variant. Yeah,
yes, yes,
Yeah.
variant.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
So that's
and
mhm,
some reason that the I think your books are generally 80 pages. I think that is a 32 page or 40-page book, right?
24, 28 actually, 28. That's
28.
the first
So,
book we did. Had a reason for it. One, we wanted to make it for a change. We wanted to do smaller books,
mhm.
because for those who are complaining, oh, your books are expensive. Okay, fine, we get smaller books too. That is one. And secondly, I wanted to have it out for Mumbai Comic Con. Any
Okay.
more pages, we wouldn't have been able to release that book.
Okay.
Mhm.
But the story is, we fulfilled whatever we want to tell in that 28 pages.
So Warrior is, sorry, I missed the credit. So is it written again by Shamik or
No,
someone?
it's co-written by me and
You
another
okay?
writer named Ashok Rajagopalan.
Okay. Because my next question now I remember was, I
Uh,
think most of your books is written by Shamik. So now I think I see Bijoy had taken that alpha character. He's writing like already finished
Oh.
first book, which is very thick book. I think 160 or 150 plus pages. Second book is also same. So any specific reason to choose Shamik only, or uh, I mean, you can elaborate on
I
that
don't
maybe.
know. I mean, like
Hmm.
when Shamik and I, jammed, it worked really well, because we were able to see eye to eye on the vision. Uh,
Hmm.
See, unlike other companies, I mean, there's no, I'm not pointing at who and what. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
just saying,
Hmm.
we think story first and then art comes later you
Okay.
know so Shamik was able to tell effectively the storytelling that we wanted, where that the vision of Yali, cinematic, and also other parts to it. And then I had a lot of conversations with other writers. It just didn't fit in until Vijay Ravindran walked in.
Okay.
And Vijay
So
Ravindran didn't have it easy. We had put him through a lot of misery, and like Codename Alpha. We took 4 months back and forth to write the core story of
hmm.
Codename Alpha. What is that
Hmm.
core story? He had multiple drafts. He was willing to do it too. We put him in test, and he was willing to be tested. So it was mutual. So after 4 or 5 months is when we decided, okay, now we are ready. We can do the comic. So if
Nice. And
somebody is ready to be tested like that, why not?
And Codename
so
Alpha came out very good. Yeah, with the whole Bollywood like theme and everything. It was really fun to read. And I haven't read the Codename Alpha 97, but waiting for it to be shipped to me. It's on the way, so I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
now
Thank
on
you.
the same line, I wanted to ask, how was the interaction with Bijoy? Because Shamik, you messaged like 11 years back. He was the first person
Right.
onboarded to Yali, right? But Bijoy is like, he already read Yali and he might have seen your books. So how was the interaction between him and you then?
Yeah, Shamik did. I mean, sorry, Bijoy did all the good homework. He had read all our books, and
Hmm.
he knew them very well. So when I started the conversation with him, it happened during the COVID. COVID started in March, and when I was talking to Bijoy, I think it was August of 2020. So we were all remote, and Bijoy was living and still lives in Singapore.
Okay.
And all our conversations again was WhatsApp calls and everything. This is how it started. Like Vijay, he wrote really well the letter that he sent to us. We had put up an ad for asking, if you are capable writers who understand good storytelling, cinematic storytelling, and comic book, who can marry this both. And he was one of the few applicants who stood out. Because one, he had read the comic books, and he wrote well in the introduction email. Then we decided to have a call. Then this is how we said, we want to create a frivolous superhero,
Mhm.
like in the lines of a Hancock or a Deadpool, with an Indian flavor, of course,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
and then he came up with multiple ideas, like he would narrate the ideas to me on the phone, WhatsApp calls, and the only thing I did during the COVID time was go for a long walk, so while I was hiking, I would just listen to him narrate these ideas. And then some of them didn't work out. And one sudden day, like he came up with this idea. I mean, one of the few ideas he was just throwing, saying, "Hey, how about we have one guy who has, an alter ego and the person with two bodies, one soul, kind of thing. Hey,
Mhm.
let's try that." You know,
Okay.
and then in its story it morphed, and where the guy who created became the antagonist, and the guy and the creator became the antagonist, and then of course the alter ego, the superhero, is the hero. But he's
Mhm.
not straight up, like save the world superhero, right? So as you
Yeah.
had story, so he's probably the biggest loser, and how is he going to save the Mumbai?
Yes.
So I have one question, Ashwin. So first and foremost, let me openly admit, Village was one of the, or is one of the best horror graphic novel I have read in India. Maybe people might differ, but it was something. Means I told this group also that this
Thank
guys
you.
read it. It's just quite commendable. It was. I was
Mhm.
just blown away by it. It was, and it was so, let's say, heart wrenching. I just read it, gave it read once. I
Uh-huh.
haven't not read it twice, but it was amazing to give it a read. Uh, but let's say if I put all of your books together, Carvan, Village, Codename Alpha, they follow a specific genre. It has with something about horror, something masala, but something very unique. Yali Dream brought out was Devi Choudhrani. Okay,
Oh,
it was quite unique, I think, because first and foremost, it is adapted from a very classic, famous Bankim Chandra's play story. Okay,
thank you.
uh, so my question here is, let's say, how risky this experiment was, because I'm telling it a experiment because Shamik adapted it quite well to a graphic novel.
Uh-huh.
That was one part, and definitely from Yali perspective, I would like to know, is there any such plans in future also? And the second question would be about, I think, to me, apart from Shamik, who would be, let's say, the man of the moment for this book would be Vikas Satpathy,
Mhm.
who has been the artist, because I have gone through the art. It's people should watch the art. It's quite great. Even I saw in the let's say, in just behind the covers, there was Patachitra. If people don't know, it's kind of a art from Odisha. Okay.
Mm,
And
mm,
I think because did quite a great work. So first,
mm.
my question is, let's say, from this book perspective, do we from Yali can see these kind of a books more? And this to me is a experiment. What was your thought? And I don't know. Maybe it's my naiveness. I haven't seen Bikas Satpathy in any other, let's say, Yali books. I don't know. Let's say, is there any plans to bring artists like him and to use it, because they use quite a traditional Indian arts and art form, which I've seen in the book.
Right. Well, I mean, the future has infinite possibilities,
Yeah.
right? So you never know what we would do and would not do, right? And adaptation of a classic, why not? If people really liked Devi Choudhrani, I think we want to pursue things like that also in the future, right? Although telling original stories is something we would definitely stick to in a majority, but adaptations, I'm not going to say no to it. And Devi Choudhrani, I knew Bimkin Chatterjee, right? So but however, I was not aware of his work, Devi Choudhrani, until Shamek told me about it, and then I read about it. And then of course there were movie adaptations that have been made in the past, and still there's one going on right now.
Mm, mm,
I mean, incidentally, there is another Das Gupta is involved in the movie, and
yes.
I know him, and he lives in California. He's one of the co-producers of this, new Devi Choudhrani adaptation. So yeah, to answer your question, why not? I would say probably we would pursue it in the future. Are you from eastern part of India?
Yeah. I'm from Calcutta. I'm from Bengal.
So,
Uh,
and I can
s-
see the attachment that you have.
no, I think to me, because from Bengal I have read a lot of books. It was what drew me well towards this, or kind of why I like some of the words from Yali also pretty well, especially Devi Chaudhary.
Uh-huh.
It's adapted. It's not easy to adapt established character. It's always
Correct.
risky.
Correct.
There are a lot of sentiments attached to it. I'm
Right.
not sure how was the response towards this book, but to me, I think it was a experiment which has been pretty well done and brought into the paper quite well. So yeah,
Thank you.
kudos to that, and I think it deserves a read. And people should read about it definitely.
Mhm.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes. I think nobody has complained about the art so far,
Mm,
except
mm,
probably A few pages we did bring a Brazilian artist to do it, but then when we reprinted or did the Hindi version of it, we undid that too. We brought the same style. Bikash, and also to answer your second part of your question, you were asking about Bikash Satpathy.
Mm.
Bikash Satpathy could have been an amazing talent. I think, especially what he contributed to Caravan and later to Devi Choudhrani, and also I think he contributed to a prequel of Caravan called Blood War.
Mm.
In Hindi, it came out as Kuni Jang.
Yeah.
But then later, even before that, it was difficult to communicate because he was living in somewhere in remote part of Orissa. Getting him through the phone was difficult, and also he needed the script to be written to him in English. So, which was a task on its own because Shamik, after conceptualizing everything in English, he has to rewrite it for him in English, in the descriptions and everything. And then later it became uncommunicative. I don't know. We really don't know what happened to him. I don't think he's even doing anything for anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen.
Yeah, yeah. Not just for Yali. He is not contributing for anyone. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, Ashwin, my next question is on one term you used while saying that you want to tell the stories in cinematic way, right?
Right.
And I think, we ask this question to our whenever we have a podcast with someone from the creative field, like when you tell a story through a comics medium, it's
Mhm.
different than the movies. And in comics, you have free hand to do anything because
Right.
uh,
Right.
you can do anything in the comics, and in cinematically doing that will be like very costly. So when you say that you want to tell cinematic stories which can be adapted to the screen, so is
Right.
there any filter or any kind of limitations are there when you are hearing stories, and how do you modify it or how do you edit it so that it can be cinematically possible or
Right.
easy to adapt basically? Yeah.
Every medium has its grammar. Like Caravan
Mhm.
tomorrow wants to become a to a novel, then it has to expand and fit to that medium, right? Cinematically also it has to fit. And a lot of people complained about how and why Village did not work. There are people who liked it, people who hadn't read probably liked it, probably who read it did not like it. I mean, to be completely faithful probably would be difficult because one, it was expanded to a certain number of series. So those are uncontrollables. I'm talking about adaptation, what happens at that point. But
Mhm.
in terms of doing something cinematic, okay, it's very difficult to put it in words. It's like when you see Caravan or when you read Rakshak or when you look at the art and what is done for Village. We had done it in such a way it doesn't require colossal budget. To execute it. So when we
Mhm.
our graphic novels is almost like a pitch for us when we take it to a studio or take it to
Mhm.
a director. It's like a visual screenplay done for them to understand how the world is laid out.
Mhm.
Hope that
I think
answers.
that might be the reason that books are standalone, and you don't have now you have Warrior where you have released 28 pages, but before that every book was in a complete book. If you send it to a producer, he can understand and maybe create 4 to 5 or 6 episodes out of it. And since you mentioned about Village, actually I did not, I mean, very much like the book, but I liked the show. I mean, it was on and off show for me, but I liked the liberty director has taken there and expanded the universe. I think we had a podcast also, very mixed reaction there. Like
Mhm.
a few people did not like because like Anshul Bhai, he's very what you say, religious to the comic books because
So
he did not like the changes they did in the
I,
show.
I love
But
I love Village in the book form, but yeah, when the changes that were made for the show, I understood. Yeah, they were for show because a show has to have a continuity. You have to have open ideas, right? But means I'm a book lover, so whenever any movie comes, I always criticize. Oh, they did not keep it straight to the book, or they did not stick it. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I liked the show. I liked the ending. I mean, in between it was on and off. And so my question was, you are producer also in this show, right?
No, I was not. Not.
You are not. Okay, okay, you
Yeah.
are not the producer. So I'm not sure how much creative input was there from your side in this, or did you review the script, or Shamik was allowed to look
Uh,
at it, or how was it?
See, this one, I don't know. I hope it doesn't sound controversial or speculative. Like Amazon, when they acquired it, you know, they took all rights of the book, and
Okay.
and then they had the free run on what they wanted to do. but
Okay.
it so happened that I knew the director and the, before, because I already contacted the director and he really liked
Mm-hmm.
it. And in fact, even the lead actor, we had discussed. I met that lead actor. I I can't tell you that here. I met the lead actor at his residence in Chennai. So lead actor happens to be also a pan Indian actor. So I met him, and then we were pitching it. We were looking at Village as a movie because 2017 or 2018 series hadn't made an impact in India. Netflix and Amazon both. It was post that they made impact, and then one thing led to the other, and then the director took it to Amazon. They liked it, and Amazon wouldn't want any what do you call it, involvement of me or Shamik. That's how they wanted it to be. But however, when the director shared some information with me, I would give my inputs.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the caste system was blatantly said in the Village, while Amazon, especially after what happened to them with a few other series, like including Thunder, they didn't want that spelled out. Although
Correct.
one of the cast, the tribal, we just created like a fictional one. It just
Yes.
happened that the same thing exists somewhere in Orissa, which we didn't even know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to use those, and so then I told the director, why don't you use the idea of haves and have-nots, rich and poor, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
is universal. You don't even have to have a cast. So and that's
Mm-hmm.
sort of what was done to it. But yeah, so that's, on paper sometimes ideas look great, right? I mean, like, and I did see some of it, but like the same time, execution matters, budget matters, so many things that you don't even know. I mean, I had never been on. I mean, I went. I even I was there in the shoot
Mm-hmm.
during for one night. I was there. It took them all night to do one scene,
Yes.
and it was amazing for me. I was just like looking like a fanboy. Wow, is this moment real? I was pinching myself. This particular scene is made into, from paper
Book two.
to
Yeah.
live.
Real.
Yeah,
So
we can see that. I think we talked in the podcast also. Like some of the frames are exactly
Same to same.
same to same in the screenplay.
right,
Yeah.
like
And
Hmm.
the movie 300.
So,
yeah,
Asvin,
Yeah.
Yeah,
just to confirm, right? It was basically the director who liked the story and approached you, or it was like you pitched in with the idea. Means who went to, from where did the whole
I went
process
to the
went?
director.
Yeah.
I went to the
Okay.
director. The director had, I hadn't watched his movie. He
Okay.
was giving interviews. Milendra was giving interviews with a very popular a movie critique and named Bharatwaj Rangan. I watched his interview, and the combination of stuff that Miland was talking about, he being a comic book fan, he being a horror fan, he was interviewing for a horror movie of his, which in Hindi it came out as House Next Door.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
And then he came from he was a AD under Maniratnam. He had a filmmaking degree from Australia. So I thought, hey, this is a person who actually would read comic book, would understand what I'm trying to tell. He did understand. He became a fan. He liked it. I mean, there was, of course, he was initial time. He was like, who is this guy messaging me from nowhere? It happens to all of us. But then over
Yeah.
a period of time, we really, worked out the details, and we were, as I was telling you before, we were looking at it as a movie initially. So that's how I seen it. Maybe had it been a movie, probably it would have been the dilution of extra content maybe wouldn't have happened, which some people complained. Again, as I see it, for me, it's my first. I mean, for Yali's first content to be adapted, which itself is a big deal, a great deal for me,
Mm,
and a platform like Amazon. So I'm like, I couldn't ask for more.
no,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes. It's a.
completely agree on that. And means the and we talk about it within our group also. The way you guys pitched it, and to get it adapted means whatever the end result might be. But that first thing, I think it's a very big thing within
Right.
the comic fraternity in India. Means we don't see that happening. And on top of it, my next question come on this is Rakshak getting adapted, or I don't know whether the talks are on hold or if something happening behind that.
yeah, the we had option. There's something called optioning in the movie world, which means leasing, almost like a leasing, where you give a content rights to a certain period
Mm-hmm.
until they acquire it. Even Village, when it happened, we had optioned it to Amazon, and then eventually they acquired it. And now, right before the shoot, they acquired it. So a similar thing we did with Mr. Sanjay Gupta. Uh, and he extended the rights for 2 more years because he cited COVID. But the rights are back to us right now. So Mr. Sanjay Gupta was an amazing person. He treated me really well. I had no complaints on that. But the rights are back, and we are looking at ideal people to partner up and do it. So we haven't given up.
No, no, but
Okay.
that's a great thing about you and your team. You just bring something out and pitch it towards, let's say to the movie franchise, or let's say to a OTT franchise. So that's a need of the hour. Means I think it's much needed, but that's a good thing your team has done actually, Ashwin.
So
Yeah, thank
And
still
you.
this
stay,
this
still staying back at Village for a moment. I think probably the last question from me would we have the Village continued in the story form in book? Will they have a
Hmm.
new storyline coming up, or
There's no immediate incentive, to be honest,
okay,
because Amazon has the rights to it. I don't know. I mean, and also they have changed the story from what the graphic novel is, so there's no immediate incentive for us to do anything. Let's see.
got it.
Again, sometime in the future, if it happens, it happens, but nothing immediate.
so
One
one
thing,
last question from my yeah, go on, Anshu
yeah,
bhai.
one of your books means I'll say I would love to see on the screen is Caravan.
Thank you.
That has all the elements we need in a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
No, but it's
yeah.
I'll love to see the whole process
Mhm.
being done.
Sure.
So one last question I had on the Village is what was the question? I forgot now. Let me check. Yeah, on the sales, if the web series impacted any sales, or did people
Listen,
contacted you after the web show? Like, how was the experience after it got released?
and it did impact the sales. Just before it came out, when the announcements were happening,
Hmm.
there was a more than the spike of print sales. The
Kindle.
digital was going crazy.
Hmm.
It's like almost like 400%.
Oh,
Yeah, it
nice.
went crazy. I mean, again, that lived up to a certain period, and then
Hmm.
slowly started tapering down. Uh,
Hmm. And then I think you released it in Hindi and other languages also, right? So how
right.
was the response there?
Bengali,
Yeah.
and also we partnered up with someone to do the Tamil version. So,
Hmm.
but
So
they changed
is it?
the name. That
Mhm.
was my only regret about. They changed the name to Village to something else, which became unidentifiable. But
Mhm.
the Bengali and the Hindi version are like cousins to the English version.
Okay, okay, yeah. So, yeah, Indra, you have something?
Yeah,
And
yeah. Go ahead, Ashwin,
I was
first.
going to ask you: have you read? Did you get a chance to read it also in Bengali?
No, I have read it in English, and I would like to prefer to keep it that way because I know sometimes translated works can be.
Sure.
And my memory with Village has been quite a great, uh, frankly speaking. The moment I read it, I pitched it to some of my friends outside of this group.
Sure.
I recall I bought one copy from Ravi Raja Huja also, and I gave it to one of my friend, and I
Mhm.
said, just give it a read. You won't find a horror genre in Indian graphic novel like this. I kind of liked it very much. And
Thank you.
just one question on that I had, because initially you mentioned, right, you partnered, you were in US, you partnered with Vivek Goel from Holy Cow, and because Vivek was also here and we asked this question, we thought of just getting this perspective from you, because we think there are quite a few things or combinations which are made in heavens, and it was like Yali and Holy Cow.
Hmm.
But it seems things didn't work out. It went quite sore here and there.
Right.
So what went wrong? I mean, so we would like to hear your perspective.
I don't think bygones be bygones. I mean, it's almost like it's a futile attempt to dig it,
Mm,
right?
Hmm.
It's like different people, different personalities. I think to put it very simple, Ravi Raja Ahuja is probably the better man, a better fit for our team.
Hmm. Okay, let's not go into that then. If Ashwin has said that, I think same thing. I think Vivek also said he's good. I mean, peace from his side, and maybe in future we might see some team up with Holika or Yali again,
Future
because
has infinite possibilities, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't
So
write. Yeah.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
I mean, again, I have a
Now,
lot of respect for Vivek Goyal also because,
yeah,
I mean, to be publishing comics for 12, 13, 14 years consistently, who it doesn't matter who does it, right? It's
yeah,
not easy. It's not easy at all.
yes, yes, yes,
Agree. Agree to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
Aswin, coming to the Aswin as the publisher, right? So I
mhm.
have means most of we had creatives come over, publishers come over, and we had asked this question: Indian comics industry, right, as we call it, is it sustainable? Means you are actually publishing. You know how many books are being printed, how much monies are being. What's the current state of them? Are the new readers joining it? Are your sales increasing? Is the industry growing up, or after the whole high hype after Corona period, is it coming down? What's the status, and where do you see it go?
I don't know if it has gone down because after the COVID came the Comic Cons. And
Correct.
the last Comic Con season, the 2023 season, I would call it, we had more cities than ever before. 5 cities. We got Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore were constant, and they added Hyderabad and Chennai this time. So I think in some ways it has grown. In some ways it hasn't grown to what I would want, or most of our publishers would want it, right? I think also the readership is also fragmented. Some who are only English only, and some who read in English but only read manga or something else. And there are some who are specifically into a certain genre. There are some people who tell me, I read only horror. I don't read anything else. So I'm waiting for your next horror. And somebody who prefers to read only those codename alphas. And also, I mean, as a future and aspiration, I would like to publish. I would like Yali's book to be available in multiple languages. You know, this is a company that started as only English only comic book company because I didn't know anything. I
Correct.
mean, I didn't know any other way, right? So, and then later we included Hindi, and then future I would, we also did one Bengali book, and I'm talking to someone where we can bring book our books in Bengali regularly, so that we are, I mean, in conversation with. And I would also want it to come in Tamil, and I also we Codename Alpha has come out in Malayalam, so I would want it to be in multiple languages, so that maybe collectively in multiple languages we have a bigger readership than looking at it as one language.
Yes, like you said in the start, like you did not read Raj comics because they did not have a reach in the southern part of the India. So
Correct.
it's good that you are bringing your books in different languages, like in Hindi also you are covering the northern region, and with the different languages, Tamil and Malayalam, the South Indian part is also covered. Maybe after 10 years, when we interview some creative, he say, "Oh, I read Yali. That's why I started my company because that was the inspiration." So my next question is on your favorite characters or books from Yali which you like most, and overall also from any other publication, what characters you read or which one you like most.
I'm naturally, horror doesn't come to me naturally.
Hmm.
Had it not been for Shamek, I don't think I would have, done horror as a first choice. He's a
Hmm.
big fan of it. In fact, I don't know if you guys might have already seen it. We made an announcement that even Bijoy Ravindran is doing a horror comic novel as we speak. We are
Hmm.
working on it. So hopefully the book one of three comes out this year.
Okay.
So it's a out and out as gory as it can get. It's a horror content. So and yeah, to answer your question, what are my favorites? So my natural liking definitely are Rakshak, Alpha, and the latest Varian.
Marian, okay. And overall, like from Indian books or like overseas, like DC, Marvel, Image, if you read.
DC Marvel and stuff. Favorite characters, I definitely all time Batman.
Hmm.
Uh, was almost definitely been my most favorite one, and I think we paid a homage in the form of Rakshak. It's our own Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first read your book, I said to these guys that it reminds me of Batman. Rakshak somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, any vigilante,
Mhm.
any masked vigilante would remind you of Batman. But we made it very Indianized. We set in Delhi, and we also, unlike Batman, this guy is also handicapped. Which
Hmm.
we some kind of handicap that Daredevil has.
Hmm.
So
Okay. And I when I read about Yali, the description is like it's a global brand to tell the stories and all. So my question was, still if we see it's mostly in India, right? If you try to search it on Amazon.com, you are in California, but your books are not listed on Amazon.com. You can get the Kindle version. So what is stopping, or I mean, if there is any plan to get it here also, because we have lots of Comic Cons here, and
right,
since your books don't have any language barrier, it's in English, right? So
correct,
it
correct.
will
Also in
go
English.
like hotcakes. Yeah, also in English. So uh, is there any plan like that, or what is the
Which
thought
part of
behind it?
California are you in?
I am in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, we, there was a Comic Con called APE, which
Hmm.
moved down to South California. I'm in San Jose.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we were in, I think, the Comic Con called WonderCon. I'm
Hmm.
talking about a decade ago. There was another guy I was partnering up with, and together we all thought, why don't we take it to San Francisco, the Comic Con? And that time we had only Caravan, and we didn't even have Devi Choudhrani. And Devi Choudhrani, I just had a poster.
Hmm.
We somehow at that time, 10 years ago, we just stood out like a sore thumb. We got a tiny booth, and we were standing with artists, not publishers. And we
Hmm.
didn't do that well. Just 2.5 days of just standing there, waiting there. I
Oh,
think
okay. Hmm.
that. I mean, of course, it was a decade ago. To answer, long story short, I think it's one is manpower, right? Why,
Hmm.
why we haven't brought the books here, and I'm not sure if I could pack the orders and do all of that. Unlike Ravi, who does it full time, right?
Hmm.
The fulfillment of the orders. So maybe I'll have to partner up with someone who has that manpower, and they publish the book and bring it. Like I don't know, maybe like I'm looking at like a Dark Horse or a Boom or something
Hmm.
to help us out. So they had the infrastructure set.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think there is an option, but I'm not sure that print on demand on Amazon. But I'm not, because the quality is not that much like
Right. Right.
what you get in India. So yeah, that is one option. I think Soumya, one of the writers,
Yeah. Heard about.
and yeah, so he do that. Like he takes the help of Amazon.com with print on demand service, and I think he launched his book in US. Now he's launching it in India with some publishers. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
he's doing that.
Right.
Mhm.
And also, okay, yeah, well, I could also work with Diamond, the biggest distributor in the US,
Yes, yes,
Yes.
in
yes.
the books, but I still have to stock it, keep it. I'm not
Correct.
sure if, with given I have a family and I create content, and on top of it, managing the books, I don't know if
Yes.
I have the bandwidth for it yet. So the best way I'm thinking is I'm talking to an agent who could actually facilitate. He can bring our books to the West. So that's how I'm
Yes.
saying. So
And
yeah.
I mean, it would be very nice because then you'll open a door for other Indian publisher also to come in US and flourish, because here the market is very big, right? Than India for English books, at
True,
least we can say.
true,
Yeah.
true, true, true. There's a definitely a
Mhm.
bigger market. I met an artist from Image Comics. We were having a casual chat, and then I asked him, "What's the average print run of the Image Comics books?" Like 70 to 100,000 copies. Wow!
Yeah, so yeah, we would like to see that, because then
Yeah.
NRIs living outside India will get to pick the book from the weekly releases here in US also, right?
Right,
See.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, I do want Yali's books in
mhm.
libraries in the US and
Yes, yes, yes.
comic bookstores in the US.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All things I'm greedy about.
Mhm.
In fact, I did give a few free copies. There's a local library, Santa Clara.
Library. Mhm.
I did give some free copies. And when I go to the library in a comic book section, in the initially, when I saw, oh, Caravan, I would take a picture and post it in my Facebook. It's like,
Mhm,
hey,
mhm.
I'm happy that it's locally available. And also, I was
Yes,
also happy when it wasn't available, which meant somebody's reading it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we would definitely love to see Indian books in our stores,
Mhm.
especially the good English ones. So at least people here know that India also has a flourishing comics industry.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
There are some books
So
like Mumbai Confidential. Who was it published by? I forget. I see it available in the library
Yeah,
bookstore. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very famous Mumbai Confidential. Yeah, I don't recall the publisher.
Uh,
Yeah,
I forget who published it. And of course, These Savage Shores, written by
yes,
Ram, uh, it's written for. I mean, it's a written still. It's a story set in India, but it's I think it's for catered
Yeah,
for
Word
personality.
Word Comics. Yeah,
yeah. Ram's books are available because basically his publishers are
Correct,
Western, right?
correct,
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, but my path is completely different.
Very
Yeah, right.
It's
different. Yeah.
catered for
But
India. How to bring it full
mm,
well.
Correct.
yes,
Other publisher whose book is available in the US, reasonable is a book called, I mean, you may know the publisher, Campfire.
yes, yeah. Campfire. They sell it on Amazon also. Yeah,
Yeah, they
I
are
have
there.
seen that.
I've seen them in the library
Yeah.
because their books are almost like biographic.
Yes,
It's
yes.
easy for them to sell that idea for schools also.
Hmm, 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 hmm. Okay, so we are almost 1 hour into the podcast. So I have like couple of more question, Ashwin.
Sure.
But you can tell us if you're getting bored and
No, no, no. You're good. You're good.
uh, controversial question because Yali was working on a book with AI, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
then you pulled it back and released it in original version.
right.
So as a publisher, want to know your thoughts on this AI versus artist debate because it's very hot topic and most of the artists totally boycott it. But I know it will be normalized down the line, maybe 10 years, 15 years. But right now, it's very, every artist is anti AI. So, what is
Yeah.
your thoughts and what was the thought behind, coming up with the AI book on the like redoing the artwork with the AI on your Neelakshi book? So,
Right,
if you
right.
can, mhm.
See, I'll tell you that it's not controversial. I mean, I think it's a question I'm happy you asked because more people would know why I did it.
Yes,
We
yes,
already
yeah.
try explaining it, but
Mhm.
I think it didn't reach enough people. Uh,
Mhm.
this book, Nilakshi, was done more than 11 or 12 years back. And what I did that time with whatever knowledge of comic book that I know at that time. So,
Mhm.
and also we had non-Indian artists. No, I don't think it's an artwork that I'm very proud about back then and even now. So and all our artists, and then there's a limited pool of talented artists that we want to work with, and all of them were working on other IPs. They were fully
Mhm.
occupied. The idea of doing AI was not to put comic book artists out of job, but rather not to pressurize with them with this. And I thought, okay, why not do an experiment? With this, which is already a published book, and someone
Mhm.
already read it on digital form, and almost like give it remaster it, but do it with what is out there available. End of the day, I'm a storyteller. I want to tell them beautifully, and I was working on it. uh, I think I've finished three-fourths of the book is done, but then there are portions of it like action sequences and stuff which I don't think AI is ready for two people doing it. In fact, there were some pages that was actually illustrated by Tamil
Mhm.
Saha, who later we pulled him into Varian. So he
Mhm.
has done it. I think they already been colored as well, but then we just, I think me working full time, me working doing other comics of Yali was running out of time. And then okay, like, and there are a lot of people already waiting for this book which we had announced. I was like, okay, and Ravi and I decided, hey, let's release the already existent version. But however, we lettering and everything was redone. Coloring was, I mean, sorry, the covers were brand new. Uh, we decided to let it out. Maybe that AI version could be come out, later in the future when I'm ready for it, technology is ready for it. When people are ready for it to accept.
Mhm. Okay. Uh,
Remember this. This is like this. Okay. Um I remember, I don't know if you guys know about this controversial, at least it was controversy for a certain period. There was a
mhm.
movie of Kamal Hassan called Vishwaroop.
Mhm.
yes,
So Vishwarupam in Tamil and
Yep.
Telugu and Vishwaroop in Hindi. So he said at that time, that he wanted to do on demand broadcast of his movie by pay per view. Pay per view.
Mhm,
We knew it before. We know most of you who live in the US and Canada, we have that thing. He wanted to do that with Shoutout, and also movies that will go in, it will also be in the theater. But the theater owners were against it. They almost boycotted it, saying that you cannot have it; it will kill our business. But later, what has happened? It became what we saw a few years later is a streaming content.
Correct.
So maybe I don't know what we think today won't work could be the future of tomorrow.
mhm. But you don't have like any like anti-AI thoughts or something like that. You are open to it and you are seeing how technology will evolve and all, right?
See, I like to look at technology as a friend, not as an enemy.
Mhm,
Right? It's about how you use
mhm,
it. And
mhm,
AI is good for maybe AI still is not good for creative work. AI is good for mechanical work, right? People don't want to do it repeatedly, right?
mhm,
If it aids you, it's fine. It's great. But I had my own reasons. All my artists were not were occupied with one. We were doing at this point when I was doing Neelaskhi, we were already doing 3 or 4 books at the same time, and
mhm,
and then I thought, okay, why not take this up, take this as a challenge and do it, but then halfway along, as I said, we ran out of time, patience, and everything. I think patience from the readers, time from us.
mhm. Okay. So my last question is regarding one of your posts, or I saw somewhere, I think you are producing one movie called biopic on the Ravinder Kaushik,
Kaushik.
who is a spy. So I thought I mean, somehow I thought that you produced Village also, but I think this is the first movie you're producing, I guess, or you have produced before. And
Rakshak also, I got producer credits.
okay.
Just that neither of the movie, like it is called Black Tiger and
Mhm.
Rakshak, it didn't go on the floors. So it has.
Okay. Okay.
So I mean, I got producer credits on both because that's the step we wanted to do. Like not from a comic book company. From It's like Marvel Studios. I mean, Marvel
Correct.
Comics and Marvel Studios.
Mhm.
Yali, we want to make the transition of Yali Comics and Yali
So
production.
when did this start? I mean, or I'm not sure exactly what producers do. I mean, most of time I heard they
I
bring
don't
the
know.
money, or they bring the people and and director everybody on board and start a movie. So how did this journey started, and when you started this
Yeah.
producing thing?
So even I'm still learning, to be honest, very
Mhm,
honest, what producers do, because
mhm,
I haven't produced a single movie yet. I'm
mhm,
got credits, but I haven't done anything yet.
mhm,
But here's how it works. Here's how it did. So Yari's content has been getting traction over the years. Whether it's a caravan, we had optioned it to Anushka Sharma
oh,
back in 2016, 2017. For 2 years, we did it. Anushka. I was in touch with Anushka's brother Karnesh, and but then he couldn't find the right actors for it. So our rights came back to me, and then the Rakshak. I don't have to explain.
mhm,
Village, I already know what happened, and also, you would be excited, Indresh, that serendipity had it that Devi Choudhrani, I pitched it to Mr. Sanjay Bansali. I met him twice for this. So I haven't shared this with anyone in this information. So
Wow.
yeah. But then, so many other things came in the way. So it hasn't happened so far.
mhm,
And it would have been amazing had he made it. And then all along in the journey of seeking to make our content into live, I met Vivek Rangachari, who's based in Mumbai, who's been a producer for a decade. He's produced movies like Lunchbox, D-Day, and Madhuri Dixit's only Marathi film Bucket List, and he's done a few films with Anurag Kashyap. So I met him on the way and in the journey. And 2019, we met for a different content. Then we thought we have synergy and we could, create this, which never traveled path of comic book company and a studio with Vivek helming the production part of it. So that is how Yali Dream works. The production wing was born.
mhm,
Immediately we did, our option agreement with Sanjay Gupta, and Vivek and I both have got producer credits. Although per se it's not to also answer your question, producers necessarily doesn't have to always put in money. Yes, they do put in money, but I'm talking about the modern producers. They don't have to put in money.
Mhm.
So they can
Mhm.
also, their equity could be just the content
Got
and
it.
bring in talent. Like they could bring an actor, they could bring a director, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
That's something. And then you take it to a studio. There are established studios that buys in your idea, and then we use their funds to make it. So again, there are challenges, right? You got to make sure that you don't overshoot the budget and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, excited to see some movies from Yali Dreams Creation Productions also. And I just recalled, I think you did some new company also under the Yali Dreams. I forgot the name, which was
Mhm.
doing the translation of some English books, horror
Yeah,
books. I
yeah.
don't see any post nowadays. Yeah, Yala. So
Vyala,
Vyala,
yes,
Vyala,
I was
Vyala.
partnering with a friend who was extremely enthusiastic about that idea. But
Mhm.
somewhere along, I think how he wanted to get it done, or brought the best resource I can think of, like including Ravi Rajagopal. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, not Ravi Ahuja,
Ravi
and
Ahuja.
and also we brought in translators and everything. But then there was not enough done from his end. I'm like, okay, I didn't see excitement from people from that books that we did. Although we had in our pipeline, we wanted to do Stranger Things and books like that,
Oh, okay.
which hadn't had seen a Hindi version, right? So
Mhm.
he had rights to the Hindi version. He knew people where he could get rights, but he had the rights to the Tamil version. This is how the conversation started like this. He wanted to pursue in Tamil, and I said, let's do it in Hindi because which is a bigger market.
Mhm.
I brought him in. Initially, it seemed like we were aligned, but then later, you don't see it being profitable or worthy of your time. So, some ideas work, some ideas don't work.
So that is not happening now, right? Or
Not right now.
no, not right now.
I always say this, right?
Hmm.
Future. I'm saying I'm always positive that future there are going to be possibilities.
Hmm. Okay. And Ashish Bhai, Anshul Bhai, you have any other questions for Ashwin?
No,
uh,
I think we have some questions from some of the users, right? We asked on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
Yes. So I'll just read them out. I think some of them you already answered. We
Yeah,
can
Sure.
just read them out, and remaining you can answer. Kisle Ranjan is asking, when can we see the next arc of Karwa and Rakshak? Also, is he means you planning of interconnected universe?
Yeah, interconnected universe. I think I answered it.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
So
I think
Karwa and Rakshak.
a little bit of interconnected universe. We did do it in cat between Village and Rakshak.
Hmm.
And then if you read Codename Alpha
yeah.
97, you'll see Rakshak and Codename Alpha 2. So
Okay.
we have done a little
Um,
bit of that. And I think to answer this question on next arc of Caravan, we haven't planned one yet. But Rakshak is we're working on it. Book three is already done. We want to release it closer to the Comic Con, and book four is also in process. This is about Crackdown.
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम रंजन ठाकुर. रक्षक पर मूवी आने वाली है, उसका क्या स्टेटस है? आई थिंक यू ऑलरेडी आंसर्ड, एंड ही इज सेइंग ही इज ईगरली वेटिंग फॉर विलेज सीजन 2. सो इज देयर अ सीजन 2 और
Amazon
हाउ
hasn't
इज इट?
done anything.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
So yeah, so these are the fans questions, and I think we had a good time. Thank you, Ashwin, for joining us. If you have any feedback or how was your experience with us, you can just briefly tell us, and then we can end the podcast.
Thank you, guys. As much pleasure. The pleasure is likewise. Talking to you, discovering through you, I could see what readers think. Right, so it gave me an insight. So it was valuable. So I think that's something I'm sure I'd be able to use your questions and your feedback somewhere along in the future.
sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Ashwin, for joining us.
Thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to the audience, please like this video, subscribe our channel, and share this video, and stay with us. We'll bring new creatives, new guest in our next podcast. Thank you for joining. Bye.